It's media day in the NBA today. And that being said, we are getting a ton of fun information about all these teams as these guys are being asked all these questions. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that in a rapid fire style format in today's video. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video on the Basketball Bulletin. Let me know in the comments, what is one thing that you heard on media day from whatever team, maybe it's your own personal favorite team that has you really excited about the upcoming season in the comments down below. So there's quite a lot of it here, and shout out to NBA Central because they did a great job of like chronicling all this. So if you didn't know, the NBA is doing media day today, like all day long. Like it started hours ago. It's already 11:30 in the morning for me Pacific time. They started hours ago, and they're just kind of knocking them all out staggered throughout the day. So there's been quite a bit. Obviously, we're not going to cover everything from every team because some of them still haven't happened yet, as far as I know. But let's get into it. So a couple of things that are pretty interesting here to start off with. So Bruce Brown, as soon as I got to Toronto, I thought about coming back to Denver right away. I thought that was pretty funny. he left Denver and realized, wait a minute, I'm not built for this. He said, I need to be with Nikola Jokic. I gotta go back. In all seriousness, though, he left. He got the bag, and things sorted out ultimately for him. Hopefully, he has a good season this year. But he's been pretty injured over the last stretch here, and hopefully, he is going to be healthy this season. And Denver, at least on paper, barring health, anything like that, with him and some of the other guys, they have arguably the best roster that they've had in the Jokic era. So could be a really good team, especially being spearheaded by Jokic. Moving on from that, we have some guys that were disappointed or frustrated that they didn't get extensions. There's still technically time, I guess. But yeah, so Walker Kessler, we talked about him recently. Kessler admitted he's frustrated that Utah didn't give him an extension. I'm definitely a little frustrated. As long as I have a Utah Jazz jersey on, though, I will play winning basketball. Hopefully, this season the Jazz are also interested in playing winning basketball. We've heard some conflicting things about that, like going back to the draft where they fell as far as they could potentially fall, which is kind of insanely bad luck, but all around crazy luck, like Dallas shooting all the way up. Anyway, so that being said, hopefully they're interested in that. They said they were whenever that happened to them in the draft situation. And then on the topic of Walker, like I said, we talked about that, but he's one of those guys where the blueprint is kind of there based on this season, and teams kind of want a piece of that pie to like squeeze these guys that are restricted guys in the next season, maybe even the following season. This is a very, very, very tough market to be in for a restricted guy, especially just in general. We've talked about this a lot, but like the guys in that 18 to like $30 million range really get squeezed with this new CBA. Teams are not really as interested in paying for those types of contracts as they look. You could maybe pay for some of those guys, but they're mostly trying to keep that long-term flexibility open. Obviously, the max guys get a big chunk of it. If you've got multiple max guys, then all of a sudden it's kind of hard to even print the contracts for these other guys that are around the 18 to $30 million range. But if you're in that range, it's kind of tricky. And Walker is a guy that, in my opinion, would be in that range. So he's another guy that hasn't got an extension. There's a number of guys that haven't got extensions that I'm sure are all pretty frustrated by that. But ultimately, he is one of those ones that we've talked about. Giannis was not going to be able to attend today. He did get COVID. Lillard. So Lillard doesn't plan on playing this season. I don't plan on it. I feel like if this team is a 1 seed without me, they probably got it. I'm trying to be as healthy as possible. That's real. That's pretty real. So real quick. We pondered the idea of doing a video on some of the recent footage of like Tatum. I believe there was also recent footage of Kyrie. Don't quote me on that, but Tatum looks like 4.5 months, give or take, after the injury. He looks great. He looks like he's so far ahead of schedule. And so you'd have to wonder like where Dame sits on all of that, but maybe there's footage of him I haven't seen, so correct me if I'm mistaken. But regardless, whether it's Tatum, Dame, Kyrie, anybody, if you got one of these injuries, I'm just not rushing back. There's no reason to rush back. And particularly like for Tatum on that topic, the team already kind of tore down. They're probably going to need another year to really build out the roster again. And that was the idea. They probably planned for him to miss the entirety of the season anyway, despite the fact he looks really good in recent footage. And if you're Portland is in a similar situation. Frankly, a lot of people don't know what the hell Portland is even doing. My best guess is they're trying to be good next season or next season, the one following, the one that's about to start here in roughly a month. And with that, maybe they'll have Dame, they'll have Drew, and these guys will be a year older, and they're both backcourt guards. That's something I'd be concerned about with them. Dame coming off this injury as a bit of an older guy at this point, like how does he look? Drew being a defense-focused guy, I think he'd still be solid, but is he still going to be Drew Holiday, or is he going to be like Drew Holiday? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's something that it remains to be seen. So Portland also needs a year to kind of see what these guys look like, and already dealing with injuries is not great as well. I believe we were talking about Scoot here recently. So let me actually just cross-reference that because I definitely don't want to say Scoot, and we were wrong about that, or I'm wrong about that right now. Yeah, I was right. Scoot's out right now, and that's another thing they didn't want to see. But anyway, let's go ahead and get a quick word from today's video sponsor, and we'll get back to it after that. Ever heard of the Sleeper app? Well, here's a little secret. It's more than just a platform for season-long fantasy leagues. This year, millions of users enjoyed playing fantasy sports on Sleeper. But the app offers so much more. There's live stats, real-time updates, and visualization on all stats. There's a news feed where you can get lightning-fast updates on your favorite players and teams, and a real-time chat where you can engage with other users about individual plays and performances during the NFL and NBA seasons. So download the #1 sports app and experience it yourself today. And when you do, use promo code Bulletin and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. All right, so I guess the Clippers are having their media availability right now. This was not a part of this, but Trevor just, I was going to say Trevor just texted me something from Ramona Shelburne. Asked Lawrence Frank whether Dennis Robertson, Kawhi Leonard's uncle, has ever made the team or asked the team for any extra benefits that would not be permissible under the NBA's rules. Dennis knows the rules. Kawhi knows the rules. Mitch Frank knows the rules. And we know the rules. Okay. I followed by asking if that was a yes or no. Frank said, yes, we all know the rules. Okay, well, we know they know the rules, but I'm certain that there's already reports Dennis has asked for more. It's just funny that the Clippers, I'd have to imagine that their media availability is going on right now. I haven't been able to check into it, but I'd have to imagine they're not really trying to answer questions on that specific topic. Maybe Kawhi gets up there and is like, I'm not answering any, you know how guys oftentimes do. So that's pretty interesting. Moving on though, Derek Lively grew 2 inches this offseason and now stands at 7'3". Man, that's a monster. So I believe Lively is about 21, right? 21, 22. You typically can keep on growing until like you're 25-ish, but that's pretty rare. Doesn't happen to most guys. Everybody's different is the key takeaway from this. It's interesting though, because I'm sure he's probably hit a couple different growth spurts, maybe 3 in his life to get to that height when you really think about it. But as a tall person myself, I'm 6'4.5", nothing like him, right? But I can say, like, for me, there was one summer, I'm 31 now, but there was a summer in my early teens, like 13 or so, 14. And I remember that in a span of about 4 months, I grew about 6 inches. So that's pretty interesting. Now, that's not abnormal. I was a teenager. He's in his 20s. But my point was, after that, I only grew since then, I've grown like 3 or 4 inches. So hey, it must be nice to be 7'3", right? But if he has grown another couple inches post 20, that's just even more terrifying for the rest of the league. Already a really good rim protector, deterrent at the rim, and he's going to be even more so of that. So KD, we got to look at him in the Rockets outfit there. Here's Bruce Brown. It was a long 2 years, a lot of losing basketball for his former teams. Hey, man, I can't be mad at you. I can't really. If I'm him, I wouldn't really I don't know if he's trying to. This is kind of out of context. I wouldn't really talk bad on the situation I was in, aside from the injury stuff. No one wants to be hurt. But he got the bag, though. He chased the bag. Like, what can you say about that, right? All things work out in the end. There was actually a thing where he was going to go to the Lakers, but who was it? Indiana swooped in with a bigger contract, and all the rest is history, right? And the Lakers wound up getting Gabe Vincent instead for worse. All right, so AD had a detached retina last year, and his eye, he recently got surgery for it. You can see his eye is still pretty beat up here. It actually looks pretty gross. And this is something that Laker fans have been wanting to see for a long time. His eyes are like finger magnets. It's really uncanny. If you watch him play, guys' hands just somehow find their way into his eyeballs, right? That just reminded me of a couple times, like LeBron had some of those, like Draymond got him once really good. But anyway, AD has had this thing going on where guys just are, their hands just are magnetized to his eyeballs. And so he is going to be wearing a protective lens for the rest of his career as a doctor mandate. This guy did not want to wear protective lenses this entire time. He had to get mandated from a doctor and say, hey, well, you got a freaking detached retina, bro. I hella just spit. You got a detached retina. If you ever want to see, if you want to be able to see by the end of your career, you need to do this, right? So good on them. AD, I think it's for the best. Here's a look at him with said eyewear. This is he's worn this before. This is not a current shot of AD. This is an older shot from him back on the Lakers, but that is an idea of what he would look like. Speaking of the Clippers, CP3 is back in LA. We got to look at that. Katie says, I don't think we've ever seen that type of athleticism that Amen has. Amen is a freak, bro. Amen. We don't talk enough about Asar either, but Amen is a freak, bro. Like, he is actually, like, he is in the 1% of NBA athletes ever. Like, that guy's ridiculous. I think we've probably seen it a bit, but it's extremely rare. Like I said, 1%. Like, I would throw Wilt in there, LeBron in there. Like, there's maybe some guys, but not many, man. Not many. Speaking of the Lakers, because we've been talking about them for a little bit here, Reeves could reportedly receive offers up to $40 million per season on his next deal, per Dan Wojcicki. He could also, just for the record, he could also technically receive offers up to more than that, right? That's not his maximum, right? Is he going to get a $40 million deal next year? Not unless he comes out and puts up like 27, 5, and 5. If he puts up 27, 5, and 5, the Lakers are a high seed, they make it deep into the playoffs or win it all, then I could see that. And I don't think anyone would complain, but he's probably going to settle around that 30 million range, maybe 28-ish, but probably going to be between 28 to like 33, 34 in that range for Reeves. And that's just where the current NBA contracts are these days. Kyrie, Clay says, once we get Kyrie back, I don't see why we can't win the whole thing. I actually do. Like I mentioned earlier with Dame, you have to be a little bit wary of these older guards getting these injuries as well, especially like skill-based ones. Actually, maybe I'd be a little bit more wary of athleticism-based ones. But regardless, I would be worried about that, these lower body injuries on any player, but certainly a guard. And with that being the case, really anybody, because I can say the same about bigs too. This is what happens. My brain gets to moving. But with that being the case, though, you always have to be worried about whether or not Kyrie will be Kyrie, how things will look. But certainly, sure. Like, if Kyrie comes back, he is Kyrie. If the Mavs are healthy, AD is healthy, Lively's healthy, like, they get a favorable matchup. Sure. I don't see why they couldn't win the whole thing. Sure. Cooper also shows good development. Like, you could say these same things, though, for a lot of teams, right? And I think that just is a testament to how quality the Western Conference is through and through. Like, you could say these exact same types of things about a lot of different teams and say, oh, they get a favorable matchup, this and that, they're healthy, this and that. All of a sudden, who knows what could happen, right? And so I think they're in that boat as well. I think the Mavs will be a good team regardless of those things, but that's certainly on the table. Now, this is where we get some more fun stuff on some superstars in the NBA. These next two are big hitters. Jokic, my plan is to be a Nugget forever. Firstly, I don't doubt him. I don't think enough gets said about these foreign players and their sense of loyalty. They're not also typically the guys that are out there chasing the bag, this and that. I think not enough gets said about that. And so I do think when Jokic says this, he's serious. Now, does that mean they can never do no wrong, never piss him off, and he'll never leave under a circumstance like that? I wouldn't make that assumption, right? I'm sure that there is a breaking point, but I would assume that when he says this, he means it. And they're going to do their best to continue to put rosters around him that are competitive. He's about 30 years old now. Obviously, he can be a guy that's still extremely good for quite a while, but he doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to play into his late 30s. So I don't know how much longer the runway really is. So if you're Denver, you really need to maximize it. And that just could be me reading him, right? And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he plays till he's like 41, like LeBron. Like, I don't know. He'd still be a killer man at 40, just because his skill set is one that's going to age so well, right? But anyway, I would take his word for this. But the thing is that you could say that, but teams are still going to be lining up for you to be a free agent, right? Because that's something that's on the table. Until it's not, they're going to still line up for that, right? That was something teams are still doing for Luka, even though he was always somebody that said he didn't want to get traded. He was going to stay with Denver or with Dallas, all that stuff. And then he signed an extension with the Lakers. Now teams have to kind of move on. So until we get you a new contract, teams are still going to be circling and keeping you as a potential option because you're just that good if you're Jokic, right? On that topic, I thought this one was hilarious. Giannis, Bucks owner Wes Edens on Giannis and his future with the team. He said, I had a great conversation with Giannis in June, and he made it clear that he is committed to Milwaukee and he likes having his family here. Giannis said an hour later, I can't recall that meeting. Maybe this is out of context. Maybe there's like another sentence to this. I always like to throw that out there because you know how social media aggregation is. But that is hilarious. Like Giannis, you can't just say, yeah, I love it here. You know, like he said those types of things before. But Giannis is also very, how do I say this? He's also been very open about like, hey, if it's not my time to stay here, I won't stay here. In fact, this offseason, he was like, oh, I wouldn't be surprised if we're bad and they try to trade me. Like, what are you talking about? They'll never try to trade you. What do you like? He's always said stuff like that. And so to have him come out and be like, oh, I can't recall this meeting where I said I love having my family here and I'm committed to Milwaukee is just absolutely hilarious to me. And that's, for the record, not a good omen. Jokes aside, that's not a good omen for Milwaukee, right? Like, they went out of their way to try to make Giannis as comfortable as possible. You know, quietly, if we rewind on the offseason, I don't know that we ever got that full-on Giannis is committed to staying in Milwaukee that we were expecting. I mean, Shams laid out like, hey, early July, mid-July, we'll be hearing from Giannis, this and that. Maybe I could be misremembering, of course. But it just kind of went away is what happened with Giannis' situation. It just kind of went away, right? And so that's not a good omen, though, because, like I said, he's always kind of toyed with the idea of a potential breakup. Now, that doesn't mean he's also a European guy or a foreign guy, excuse me. That doesn't mean that he won't stay in Milwaukee, right? He certainly can. All the things I said about Jokic are true, to Giannis as well. It's just he's done this kind of to himself, and he does it again here, right? Again, maybe there's some context missing. Do I think Giannis is leaving Milwaukee, though? No. But he's also the same guy that very openly said he would feel like his career wasn't fulfilled if he didn't fulfill himself, if he didn't win multiple championships. So do with that what you will. Like, he's had a lot of sound bites over the last few years like this. And so I just wonder about that. It's certainly on the table. It's certainly a possibility, and it's going to remain a possibility. It's going to be remaining a thing that teams are keeping their eyes on, similar to Jokic, until it's no longer on the table, right? And that's kind of just where we're at with this. So there was a little bit on the Clippers stuff here, not much else here. So we're going to go ahead and wrap at this point. Lakers are also doing their media availability. Let's see what Ant said. Ant said his way of staying motivated against low-tier teams this season is by aiming to set new career high scoring marks. He said they asked him how does he stay motivated against playing against bad teams, and he's trying to set new career scoring marks. Like, oh my god, I love Ant. I love Ant, man. Oh my god, I love those jerseys. By the way, I'm so excited that some of these old school jerseys are back, dude. That looks so sick. Oh, that's so sick. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video here on the Bulletin. Make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you all later.